Welcome to the Coaches Show. We do this every Monday night live from the Hippo Cafe. I'm Todd Robinson along with head coach Brad LaPlante, and we're missing Ryan tonight. He claimed that his cell phone crashed on him. Interesting that happens right when the brand new iPhone 11 comes out, right? And so he says he's over having to get a new phone because his phone crashed.
They all time it real well, those companies, don't they?
Interesting how that works out. Hey, we do this every Monday night live from the Hippo Cafe. It's sponsored by the Hippo Cafe, Kangaroo, and Koala Cooling. We appreciate Scott and Stacy Feller sponsoring the Coaches Show every week. And, thought we would have a week last week to talk about a Houston-Lamar game that never ended up happening. And you got an unexpected bye week with what happened there and all that. And then come back, of course, and start district play this past Friday last Thursday, actually, against Pflugerville Connolly. So before we talk about the Connolly game, go back to the Houston-Lamar. Just curious, how does that kind of play into things when you spend a whole week preparing for a team like Lamar? Strong team, obviously different kind of game plan than you would have for somebody like Connolly. Spend a whole week preparing for them, and then you kind of find out last second you're not going to play.
Well, we had been talking to them throughout the whole week, and I even sent a message out because parents were asking and trying to make some plans to, leave early for work on Friday, and even the day before it got canceled. So Wednesday I sent a message out to the team that we've been in contact with them, and we're fine and good to go for the game. And then, at the JV or freshman games about 8:30, they called and said their district was going to cancel school for Friday and they would not have any athletic events. But, not having that game, I think the biggest things for our players is they wanted to match up and gauge our team with them, knowing their strong tradition and knowing that we had, since a fantastic game, 42-39, the year before with them, and knowing they're a formidable opponent. And that was the best thing about, our non-district schedule. It's not easy, those first four games, and it really gets us ready for district play. As a coach, I don't think we really lost anything other than could we build our confidence, against a good team, and people will look at their record coming in at 0-3, but the likes of the teams that they've played.
Three probably top 20 teams in 6A football.
They are. So that record was going to be thrown out the window anyway. But, anytime we're going through the week, certainly we're working on a scouting plan and how we're going to line up to defend the things that they do well or maybe exploit some things that they don't. It's never wasted time to be out there for 2 hours at a practice and get our guys better at all the, the drills and skills. So it certainly is not a wasted week by any means. And then, could we have figured out a way to play on the weekend? But then we would have come back a short week, district play on Thursday. We would have been beat up going into that game. Certainly we were beat up coming out of the Conley game as it is. So I just didn't think that was in our players' best interest to cancel Friday, try to play maybe Saturday night, be shortened up a day, prep for your first district game. As we all know, the Houston-Lamar game had no playoff implications at all, and Connolly had everything for playoffs.
Talk a little bit about what all goes on behind the scenes. Obviously, you and I, we're, beginning probably Wednesday and certainly Thursday. You and I were on the phone late at night talking about, this and that and how to communicate this. And obviously, Dr. Thomas, we're talking to her about, if they could play Saturday, if they could come here, blah, 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 blah. But talk a little bit about everything that's kind of going on behind the scenes that people don't know about.
Right. Well, by the time, as a head coach, by the time you talk to you as the communications person that's going to put things out district-wide, certainly get with, our chief financial officer and Dr. Thomas as our superintendent, communicate to the parents and the student athletes, all the press getting to you, talking to your coaches, talking to the opposing team, and it could be a situation, I'm at an advantage at, one high school town where I'm not only the head coach, but I'm also the athletic director. So for that coach, he had to call his athletic director. So that's one more step that we have to communicate with all these different situations. But, I would guess it's probably a good 8 to 12 hours on the phone between Wednesday and Thursday night, and then leading into, 6 a.m. calls on Friday, and try to make a decision sometime by 10 in the morning on Friday, what's best for his team, what's best for ours, what's best for school district, because it's different when everybody has the plan for Friday, and then you're trying to get on the road, and is the stadium still available? You have our band. It's not just the football team that's affected. Our band has a competition. Are they going to send people? Are they not? What the atmosphere is going to be like, and a lot of things go into it.
Well, and I think a lot of folks were like, well, Waller's not getting a lot of rain. Waller's not flooding where we were going to play. Why can't we just play? And I think, the whole deal of Houston ISD canceling their entire school district on Friday, which actually, they probably should have canceled on Thursday.
Correct.
They ended up calling it off on Friday. And once you do that, you can't tell folks, hey, we didn't have school. We canceled school, but we're going to leave and go play a football game up in Waller. So, obviously, we could have played easily in Waller. But
and I think for their team, I think on their entire varsity squad, whether it was coaches or student athletes, there was only one kid that was affected by any flooding. So their team could have gotten out and played. But, just like you said, the rain on Tuesday and Wednesday certainly impacted what went on later on in the week. And probably Thursday should have been the day they should have gotten rid of school. They could have then gone on Friday. But you know how we, in the public eye, get to make fun decisions, and it's never right, because that group over there agrees and that group over there has everything to say about it. So,
and people aren't always privy to all the information that goes into making those decisions. And like you said, could have played Saturday. Obviously, they were willing to play Saturday. They were willing to drive to Hutto had that been the case. And obviously, you wanted to play, your players wanted to play, your coaches wanted to play. But at the end of the day, you have to make that decision that what's in the best interest of the kids. And playing on Saturday and then turn around and playing on Thursday just would not have been good.
No, I think just that short week of preparation. And, we knew that Connolly was going to match up better with us than maybe some of the opponents that they had already had. And, I mean, Jason, his defense has played our offense, since I've gotten here in 2014, as good as anybody has played. Maybe with less talent or depth some years. So we knew that, we needed to have that respect for them. But, if we're going to come back and repeat as 11 5A district champs, we needed to make sure we put all our eggs in the basket for district game number 1.
Well, and I think, and maybe not you guys as coaches, but a lot of us fall into that trap of looking at how bad Connolly had been beaten by Liberty Hill and how bad they had lost a couple of their other games, and then remembering last year's 78-14 or whatever that score was. And, you tend to maybe look past somebody, not be quite as ready as you should be. And Connolly always has athletes.
They do.
They've got great athletes every year.
They do. Well, they're the number one statistical offense in our district right now. So we saw some of that during the course of the game, and they always give us great effort. Always give us great effort. They knocked us off a couple years ago after we got beat by Georgetown there, and I guess that's the first time and maybe only time we've lost 2 district ball games in a row. In quite a long time. A very long time. So as coaches, we certainly don't forget that they're going to have their kids prepared, and we just know, the state of our program and what our kids have done over the years. Their body of work has certainly earned the opponent's best effort against us, so we know we're going to get that week in and week out.
Well, and you knew Connolly was going to come out ready. The first district game for both of us, right? And they probably had a little chip on their shoulder. And, you went last year from being the hunters to you're the hunted now, right? You finally knocked Cedar Park off. You got that district championship, and now you're the guys with the targets on your back, and you're going to get everybody's best shot.
Right. Well, that's sometimes it's be careful what you ask for, and we've asked for that by the success that our kids have put us on the map, and we're right where we want to be, and I think that's a respectful thing for our program, that everybody is going to give us their best shot, and we want that because we want to compare ourselves to other teams, and we need to play 3 and 4 quarters of football if we're going to have that and try to make a deep playoff run. So, I thought, the Lamar week, we had great practice. And we had great practice leading up to the Connolly game, but we just weren't pumped up and ready to go. And, you saw a different team in the third quarter, what we're capable of, that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in just a minute. I want to hear what you had to say at halftime. Well, maybe I don't.
There's probably a recording.
We maybe can't say what you said at halftime.
It was PG.
I'm sure it
PG.
was. Well, let's going back to the game, to the Connolly game. Like you said, you come out I talked to you on the field before the game. You're like, man, we are ready. We've had a great week of practice, had 2 great weeks of practice. Come out, and, well, it was a struggle early on. And what do you attribute some of that to?
Well, some of that is just matchups.
Yeah.
You know, there was a couple matchups that we had on the defensive line and offensive line that, you know, maybe were not in our favor. You know, we missed an early block right away that, you know, I think kind of spooked Grayson a little bit after he, you know, took a hit, and it also spooked the player that, you know, maybe missed the block, and, you know, just some matchups one-on-one. It's a tough night, and you really need to play above your level to match up to that player across from you. You know, certainly I think if we go down and score on the first drive, it might be different. But, you know, we had 6 3-and-outs during the course of the game and had some, you know, turnovers in there. So that was probably the biggest cause for concern is we need to consistently move the ball. You don't always have to put points on the board, but you've got to get a first down here and a first down there. And
give your defense some rest.
Right.
Yeah, I think we commented on that during the game that probably was some of the maybe the most 3-and-outs that we'd seen in quite a while of Hutto games.
Well, and some of that, you know, we had a fumble here, we had a missed block there, maybe a misread here, a miss throw there, and it does add up when you're not at your best, and that's why we expect our kids to do great at practice, because you can't be up and down and be that, I guess what I would call a front runner. Sure. You always want to be, we don't want to be a 10 and then drop down to a 4. If we're a steady 7 or a steady 8, we're fine there.
Did they do anything that surprised you? Anything you hadn't already seen on film and
which reverse?
Yeah, that's true. They were kind of pulling out all the tricks, weren't they?
They were, and that attributed to some of the things that we do well. Even for me against our defense, because they play their assignments and they squeeze and play flat. There's certain plays that I know that we can do against our defense. There's other ones. There's no bother. It's not going to work. So they know that, and they take advantage of that. They're well coached over there as well. But just seeing them in open space, they had some good athleticism over there, and I think there were a couple times where we let a couple receivers go that gave them a certain opportunity. We might have been one step late getting there to the quarterback, and they pulled out maybe a couple different things that we hadn't prepared for, and that's going to be every week. How are you going to adjust that, and how long is it going to take? No different than them for us. How long are they going to adjust? But if you could take 6 or 7 plays away from that game, and had we done our job, it's a way different ball game. Yes. Well,
in some ways, it's probably good that they did throw some of those things at you, right?
Yes.
In a game that you ultimately end up winning, and because now Georgetown, Cedar Park, Pflugerville. I mean, those guys have watched the film. They've seen maybe how they think they can exploit some things.
Right.
But now you guys also know how you can defend those things.
Well, I mean, here's we've said it 2 games now. We've been disappointed, whether it's players, coaches together, arm in arm leaving the field. We've been disappointed, yet we've won by 14 or 21. Right. So
we're spoiled.
We are, and that's a great place to be, and our kids know that too, because even though they maybe didn't play their best, when they came back to work, they were ready to go. We brought them in early the next morning, 7 o'clock treatment, 7:30 film, all that sort of stuff. They knew they got what they deserved by their performance. Well, which is fine, because there are going to be times where they're going to earn that 30-point win with their good performance too, and that's coming.
Hey, you think about it. What are we? 14-1 over the last 15 games, going back to last year. 11-1 last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 11-1 last year, 4-0 this year. So you're 15-1. 15-1 over the last 2 years. And we're talking about things that we didn't do right, and you've spoiled us.
Our kids have spoiled us.
They have, which is
a
testament to them and to you guys as coaches. We'll talk a little bit about halftime. You go in, you're behind 21-19, I believe it was, at the half, and probably a halftime speech maybe that you had in your back pocket that you weren't thinking you were going to have to pull out before that game started, right?
No, honestly, it started in pregame. Pastor Mike called it. He kind of looked around and just kind of said, I don't know, guys. The vibe's not real good in here. So he called the players out, and so at halftime it was simple. I went and found a few choice individuals and said, you might want to start leading your team, or this is how it's going to be the rest of the year. Because, I can have a great 7-minute pregame speech, and we can give the rah-rah. That lasts about 30 seconds.
Yeah,
you have to decide you've got to decide at the line of scrimmage. I'm either going to whoop you or I'm not. And that decision should be made before the ball is snapped, whether I'm on defense or offense. And we're either going to do our job or are not. But we're very uncharacteristic with, first steps not being good, or a simple read not being very good, or there's trips over here, but I'm aligning to trips like I would to doubles. Just things that were not characteristic to us. So just that focus needed to be a little bit better, and we know it will be this come time around. But we saw what we wanted, the player leadership with the kids, getting them together. And like I said, I just told them they got exactly what they deserve.
Yeah.
And hopefully they learned.
I think sports is so fascinating because negativity can be very contagious. If there's not a lot of enthusiasm, kind of trickles down and everybody plays that way. At the same time, momentum is such a huge thing in sports. So you come out, start the third quarter, bang, bang, bang. I mean, within 6 minutes, you've scored 21 points, and now you've taken a 21-19 deficit, and you're up 40 to 21, and in pretty good control of the game. So, what was the key there?
Our players just wanting to do it. When they trust each other and do what they're capable of, and everybody just does their job, and they do it with great enthusiasm and respect for each other. And for me, just going back to a player, I never cared what that guy across from me had because I couldn't control him. I could only control what I do. So if I work my hardest until the whistle's over and I do things right, generally good things happen. So when they learn that and they do that and they do it as a group, it's good. Because on defense, 10 guys could get graded 100 on that play, and one guy misses his job, it's 6 points. Same thing on offense. We could have 10 out of 11 doing exactly what we want. Left guard misses the block, and we have a sack. So that's the beauty of football and why it's such a awesome team game, that everybody has to do the right thing on every single play for that unit to be successful.
What's the old saying about the chain being as weak as it, or as strong as its weakest link, right?
You're right.
So and on any given play.
That's right.
We were talking about our players, and each week we have our players of the game join us, and this week we had our offensive players of the game were Logan Tipton and Trey Pinelli, and our defensive players were Tyler Kelly and Trey Pinelli. So you had Trey that was doing double duty and earning it on both sides of the ball. And Trey, why don't you come over here and join us, and we'll visit with you just for a couple of minutes. Just throw those on, and
microphone's got to be real.
Put that microphone almost
lips.
like it's your girlfriend. You're trying to kiss it. Got to get real close up there.
Right about there.
There you go. That'll work. Yeah, that'll work. Well, great game the other night.
Thank you.
You, I was telling your dad, one of my favorite things was looking at the picture that Tim Walter posted on Facebook after you had caught that touchdown pass, and your teammates were holding you up. You had jumped, and he's back there sitting at the fence just with that smile on his face. How did that feel?
It felt pretty good, honestly. I mean, I just saw that picture, and it was Logan, so I showed him real quick, and I was like, "Hey, dude, look at this."
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool, I think that's about the first time in my high school career that I actually had a chance to go up and get a 50-50 ball. So I'm glad I came down with it, and I've been working for it.
I think everybody's glad you came down with it.
Yes,
Grayson threw it up there trusting that you were going to go and pick it up, and you did. You kind of, from my vantage point up in the press box, it looked like as you went up, you kind of did a good job of kind of trying to shield that guy. And
I knew he was coming to my left, so I tried to put my shoulder back.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you did a great job. All right, do you prefer offense or defense?
Careful.
Offense. I'm sorry. Offense. It's always what I've played.
Yeah.
And, defense, I have fun with it. Don't get me wrong, I do. But offense is just always what I played, and it's what I really work at. So,
talk a little bit about the adjustment this year from going from Chase, who's quarterback the last 3 years, and you and Chase had thrown balls and played catch for a long time, and now you've got a new quarterback, Grayson, who's stepping in first time as a varsity player. You having to probably be a leader a little bit for him as a receiver, but just that chemistry and that how you develop that with a new quarterback.
Well, first of all, Grayson and me, I've known him forever. He's actually my
y'all live right across the street.
Yeah,
from
we
each
live
other.
right across the street from each other. So honestly, me and him, we've kind of already had chemistry just because I've known him, and I was never really scared that he was was not going to get the job done.
Right.
Because I trust him. I love Grayson. But just switching over, it's a little different. But honestly, I just try not to skip a beat. I mean, it was pretty easy to get everything going. And you mean 7-on-7 during the summer, everything just started clicking, especially during the state 7-on-7 tournament, and it just hasn't stopped from there.
So do you and Grayson like stand and throw balls back and forth across the fence there?
No, not always, but I try to get with them at football practice and every time I can.
It's probably your dad and mom probably like it better throwing the football than Jake hitting golf balls over to your yard all the time, right?
I'm just glad he doesn't make it all the way to the house.
Yeah. Yep. Talk a little bit about being a role model. You know, you're senior now. You've got young kids that are watching you, and you're going to leave whatever you leave behind in Hutto, right, as a role model for kids. But how important is that for you as a senior player to be a role model for younger guys, not only guys that are playing football right now, but even little guys that are in the stands or watching y'all play football each week?
It's super important to me. I've had younger people come up to me, younger football players come up to me and ask me questions and just want to talk to me, and it honestly means the world to me. I'm so glad that I can be a role model to them and be who they look up to. And I try to do as best as I can to show them that this is the right way you do it.
Good. Who was your role model or role models growing up?
My brothers.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, the oldest one, he's a little bit older than me, so I can't really remember when he played high school football, but definitely my middle brother, Shane, fielder.
Yep.
I remember going to his games and watching him play, and I just remember being little and just, wow, like I want to be on that field.
So speaking of that, and I ask the guys each week, I ask them the same question. When you say being on that field, what does it mean to be on that field and to wear the Hutto H and to represent Hippo Nation?
Honestly, it's just a great feeling stepping out on the field, knowing you have people in the stands that you've known forever and everyone's supporting you and wearing the H on your helmet. It's just a great feeling, and it honestly means the world to me right now. I love it.
What's your plans for next year?
So far, I'm trying to get to a big school like A&M or Texas. I've applied everywhere, but I'm just waiting on the acceptance letter.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any interest in trying to play ball beyond
I do
high school?
if I can. If anything, I'm talking to Trinity right now.
Okay.
So if I get the chance, then I'm gonna be super happy about that. But honestly, right now, I'm just looking at all my options.
A&M or Texas? That's it?
I don't know.
That's it?
I've always been right in the middle. I'm sorry. I've always been right in the middle. You know?
All right. Obviously, great schools, and you're going to do well whatever you do. So, great game. Congratulations on being offensive and defensive player of the week. You're the first one this year to do that.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm glad about
All
that.
right.
Thank you.
You bet. We'll let Logan and Tyler come over and join us and get their views of things. Well, guys, congratulations on getting that first district win, 1-0 in district play. And
appreciate it.
How's it feel so far? 4-0, kind of picking up where everything left off last year.
It feels good. We've came out pretty strong. I mean, the doubters are out there. I mean, we just handled it well. I mean, we came in there. We're all close knit for sure.
Sure.
It's been good for sure.
How does it? What do you take from the success of last year's team? You know, going 11-0 till you lost in that third round playoff game, but the success of last year's team, but also that bad taste of losing probably a little too soon. What do you take from that and use this year to motivate you, Tyler?
Well, to me, I kind of got to step up in that role of the expectations that we all have as coaches, my teammates, know that we trust each other and go out there and play for each other and just go up to the expectation of what we have and be in December playing still. So, yeah.
That's the goal, right?
Yes, sir.
Logan, what did you say?
I mean, it was real bitter the way we lost. We should have made it further. We all know how we felt about it.
Yeah.
It was anger. I wasn't necessarily sad. I was just upset because I knew the potential that we had.
Sure.
And coming in here, I mean, we didn't. I mean, we got a new quarterback, but we didn't skip a beat. I mean, we kept going.
How do you and your buddies as offensive line, how do you guys, what's that feeling you have with a new quarterback like Grayson and that he's your guy? You got to take care of him, right?
It's always been the same mindset for me personally, and I know our other offensive linemen, they're coming together too. But personally, it's been, I mean, whoever's behind me, I'm protecting them.
Yeah.
I mean, after the play, if somebody comes up and hits them, they're gonna get an earful. I mean, that's just kind of my mentality of it.
So I asked Trey that question: offense or defense? Obviously, you play offense. You play defense. What if you had the chance to play defense? Would you want to?
Nah.
No.
That'll be all right.
You're good just blocking people, just hitting people that way.
Yeah, I mean, I played defense, but
Yeah.
it was offensive line. I mean, that's just how it is.
Tyler, what about you?
That defense.
Yeah.
I love,
You love hitting.
yeah, yes, sir.
That's obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen you hit a few times. I think you had one. I think there was one the other night. We had a wow moment. Did you have a big blow up the other night against somebody? You hit somebody. I think.
Good tackle for loss.
Yeah, I think you did.
yeah.
Oh yeah. That was what. Yeah, that sack.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was fun. How's that feel like when you're in that offensive backfield, grabbing that quarterback, and you know you're about to throw him down in front of everybody?
I love it, man. I missed it last year from not playing. I was a flag runner last year and just watching like everyone play, and I missed it. And then now that I'm this year, I'm trying to contribute. It's amazing. It's fun.
Yeah, you're definitely contributing.
Yes, he is.
Talk about why football. Why did you choose to play football?
Well,
It's obvious with you.
yeah, I don't know. When I started off real young. I mean, I've been playing with Brock Bueno since I was 4 years old. Silver flag. My dad put me in. He's been a great role model to me. I've always looked to him, asking questions about football. He's real knowledgeable, but I've always looked towards him, and the brotherhood and the friendship. It's grown, and I mean, in the small town of Hutto, I've known Trey forever. I've known TK forever. It's just we're all friends. It's just kind of how it is.
Why football?
Yeah. Piggybacking off of him, just the brotherhood that you're able to have is just different from something else. You know, you can't really.
It's hard to describe, isn't it?
Yeah.
That locker room feeling before you come out. It's different from the dugout in baseball.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
But you're a baseball player.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's your favorite?
Baseball. It's
Yeah.
going to be baseball. But yeah, that football
That's fair.
passion will still be there, but it's baseball.
Of course.
You know, it's funny you say that because we talked about it before the Connolly game. I picked 3 guys that just wanted to talk about a little bit. One happened to be a backup that hasn't got a lot of playing time, and just thanked him for, he's always right there ready to go where he should be. It's not a guy that you have to call 40 yards down. He's always there ready to go when the coach needs him. Another one was a kid that probably has gotten better in the course of 2 weeks. I mean, huge gains. And it's a starter, but continuing to make big games. And then just thanked him for not being just a one-sport stud,
Right.
but being a two-sport stud here. That's a big thing for us. We still want to have dual-sport athletes, so he's played a big role for us.
We talk about that every year. I don't think we've touched on it yet this year, but every year we talk about that the studies and all that show the success of two-sport athletes versus single-sport athletes, right?
You're right.
Yeah, it's just I don't know why. I mean, there's lots of reasons why.
Just being a competitive person. Just watch
keeping
Tyler
you
out there. I
active.
mean, it's no different when he's going to have 0-2 count. He's going to fight through that, and he's going to take that outside pitch past second base, aren't you, Tyler?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about same thing I asked Trey. Just that whole wearing that H on your helmet, representing Hippo Nation. That it's not just you're not just a football team out there, right? You are the team, the only high school in Hutto for now. In a few years, we'll have another one. But right now, it's the only one. And just what that means to you guys, that there's a whole community that you're representing, right?
It means a lot. I mean, we've always been close knit for sure. And like I was saying earlier, and I've known everybody. The small town vibe's still there. I mean, we're growing, but it's still there for sure. And I don't know. It's great. It's great for us to have the Cole community behind us. Mm-hmm. It feels great.
Do you feel a different level of responsibility, though, that when you're out in the community, you're not just a Hutto football player, you're representing Hutto High School, and you're representing your teammates, and you're representing your school, and there's some expectations of how you have to represent, right?
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Both in football.
Yep.
For you, it's year-round because it's football, then it's baseball.
Yes, sir.
So do you, during football season, do you still manage to find time to go hit a little bit?
Yes, sir. Actually, we're Wednesdays we have a little fall league that's going on. So, yeah,
Okay.
we're bouncing back and forth, getting my cuts in and getting my tackles in and then bouncing back and forth.
That's the ultimate two-sport athlete right there. He's doing them both during football season.
Right.
Yeah. Well, guys, we appreciate it. Congratulations on the great start. I know, obviously, this Friday night's big, and we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Obviously, the whole Georgetown thing and the rivalry that is. But you take them a game at a time, and so far you've taken them all well. And it's 4-0, and just one will build on the other.
Yes,
So,
sir.
all right. Congratulations
Appreciate
on being the
that.
Players of the Week.
Good
Yes,
job,
sir.
fellas.
Appreciate it.
All right. All right. Do a little rearranging again here. We don't have to keep this big gap between us, Brad. Talk a little bit about, we talk about two-sport athletes and the importance of those things, but I was sharing with you a couple of weeks ago that the study that recently came out that shows that participation in athletics at the high school level nationwide for most states is actually declining.
Right.
Wasn't true of Texas or California. I think
Right.
there's a couple of 2 or 3 states that it actually had increased, but there seems to be this decline in athletics. What do you think is the cause of that?
To me, if those numbers are really true, I think that's a scary trend. I mean, in Texas and in Florida and in California, their sports are at different times. So I know some places right now is also soccer season. So there's a conflict of what, a young man or woman, if I'm going to choose volleyball or girls soccer or football and soccer, what am I going to play?
Right.
So some states you're forced into a choice. And for me, being a father to a couple of middle schoolers, that bothers me that, okay, we're talking about 4th grade kids, and I have to make a decision. All right, I have 7 days in the week, and 6 out of 7, 3 sports are being played, and every coach is mad because you're not at practice. You're only going to games. That's it's a scary trend for the youth and all that. I think part of it, is different. So for the older crowd here, it used to be, your dad is 45 and he's playing slow pitch softball, and all the kids went to watch the adults play slow pitch softball. Right. Now the dads don't play, and they're at the ball field 6 days a week for baseball or football or whatever it is. So the trend has reversed so much to the focus to be on, competitive situations. And, I guess I could see if the kids really aren't out there just to have fun, they might be burnt out by the time they get to high school if they're not careful, or, parents are living through their kids or putting too much pressure or whatever have you.
In respect to football, how much do you attribute it to the worry about concussions?
Right.
Obviously, a lot of talk about concussions and injuries, and you think more parents are kind of holding their kids back and not letting them play those sports, a sport like football that's a higher injury risk?
I think so, and even just the changes in curriculum to taking health out of the curriculum, and instead of having everyday PE, now it's twice a week. When kids just aren't playing. Of course, you got the video games and the phone and all this other stuff. I know where your thoughts are with that, and mine are too. I mean, it's no different than our house. It's a battle as a parent to get kids to go outside and just play and free roam, and parents to trust you. You hear all the there's some crazy folks out there a little bit. So to have your kids roaming for 3 hours and not check in, those days are gone, and it does affect those numbers at the high school level, because kids aren't just going out and having fun and being kids anymore.
Right. Yeah. That my theory is a lot of it's video games and things like that. Kids are staying inside now. I can play Madden, and I can get really good at that, and then I can actually get a scholarship, and I can go, win $500,000 in the Madden tournament and never step foot outside and call myself a football coach or something,
Well, and
I think
let's
there's
face it,
something to it.
You can hit the off button.
You can restart
right there. There's no restarting. I mean, let's take last Thursday night. That was not an easy first quarter.
Yeah,
it was not an easy second quarter. I mean, our guys really had to find some guts and have some grit to get back after it. But that's the beauty of sports. You've been through tough times, so you're going to have that as an adult when you're, leading a business, leading a household as a husband and as a father. You're going to be just fine. So. We need kids playing sports.
I totally agree. I think I've often said sports. Sports is kind of a microcosm of society, right? I mean, you've got leaders and you got followers, and you win and you lose, and you have adversity and you have success, and all of those things that happen in life happen in sports, and you learn to deal with all of those things positively and negatively.
Well, and let's think about this is, I guess, our fourth show, maybe fifth.
Fifth, I think, yeah.
Counting the preseason one. How many times have you hear these kids talk about the brotherhood? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one thing. Even, I'll say for me in my job with our varsity coaches and strength staff in football, and then you add on the other coaches with the other sports, that's way different than even my wife and compared to her principal and all the teachers. There's so many things that you get by being part of a team. Yeah. Everybody belongs to something, whether it's your organization or your church or whatever it is. There just that sense of belonging. People need that, and I just, when you've got 50 people in that locker room all pulling in one direction and doing it's hard. It's hard. These guys are getting up at 5:30 in the morning.
It's commitment.
They're getting there by 6. They're out on the field at 6:20. They'll get off the field at 8:10. We're giving about 6 or 7 minutes to quick change, grab another drink of water. If they brought a little snack, great. Then we're in the weight room for a half hour. Then they've got to hurry up and shower up, maybe go get their breakfast, bust on over to, 8 periods of class, and then maybe they're coming back over to lift weights on their own after school to get better, go run routes one-on-one, or to watch film with a position coach, and maybe they're working a job, but yet they've got homework that night and other responsibilities at home. It's not easy to be a student athlete, but if they can make it through all that and be successful, those are going to be the leaders of America. And that's
exactly.
Why stick with it.
And it's the commitment, the responsibility, all those things. They'll go off to college. Mom and dad aren't there to wake you up and send you off to school. You got to do all that stuff on your own, and then eventually you get a job, and you got to get up at 5:30 in the morning, and you got to go to work, and sometimes stay till 8 o'clock at night. So it's just preparing these guys for life.
The one commercial that always stands out to me is the Enterprise commercial with all the NCAA athletes.
Mm-hmm.
That they're so proud to showcase the athletes and do that. And I remember going and playing for jobs when I was 16, and whether it was in my little 2A town or going up to a town of 100,000, they wanted to know what organizations, what activities are you involved. Can you handle being here on time, being part of the group, doing what our organization expects you to, and how are you going to make our organization better?
Speaking of leadership, one thing I want to talk about, because I saw the Facebook post, and I think this kind of piggybacked a little off of something I talked to you about in the off season, but I noticed your student athletic leadership council, SALC, was at one of the schools welcoming the little kids. Talk a little bit about the student athletic leadership council.
Well, every varsity sport, the head coach has the opportunity to nominate student athletes to be a part of that leadership council, the best of the best, people that you can count on, who's got the good grades. And of course, for me, my size of locker room, there's a lot of kids to choose from. When you're talking about 40 or 50 kids at the varsity level. If it's a basketball team with 12, or swimming, they might have a smaller group to choose from. But I think that's a pretty good deal when kids are getting recognized for doing that. And we've got FCA that meets every Friday at 7:45 over at the PAC. And then also the SALC group, they do meet once a month, and then they'll look at Thanksgiving time when they'll volunteer. They'll run the elementary track meet and help out with that in the spring, and just different times where they can go and serve, and not only be seen, but to help out kids and organizations like leaders do.
Kind of goes with like what I was asking Trey about being a role model. these kids go to. So you had them. What were they doing last week? They
They're
were
over at
Nadine
Johnson, so.
and they were basically just as kids were pulling up, coming to school. They were opening doors and saying hi to them, high-fiving them, and in the eyes of a little kid, that's a big deal, right?
It is.
To see these big kids doing that.
And you see, trying to think how many sports I saw. We had soccer, we had swim. I think there were 4 other sports that were involved in those pictures. So how many kids, hundreds of kids, are going to walk by, and they're going to pick out of those 12 student leaders which one they associate themselves with, maybe by the T-shirt or, what sport and, what they want to be when they grow up. And it's just a great connection first thing in the day to get them started off on a Friday.
And I hope that we can build that even further. One of the things I talked to you about during the summer is having those kids go and read to those little kids in the elementary school. And what an awesome thing for these kiddos to do. And sometimes the ones that are doing it get more out of it than the ones that are receiving it.
Well, I think it's you heard the words from Trey, and you've heard others. I mean, I think until you've been in that situation where those kids do come up to you and adore you and what you do represent, because you're not just a football player or a volleyball player. You're so much bigger to those kids, and then especially when they figure out that a lot of these high school athletes that we have are getting recruited by all these colleges that they see on TV. Well, then they figure out by the time they get into middle school, you start talking to them about, all the prerequisites you have to have with GPA and ACT or SAT. And, we've got high schoolers with magnificent resumes already for all the volunteering they're doing out in the community or being part of a group like that or their church organization or, what volunteer hours they're doing throughout the school. Because some of the teachers make certain classes have anywhere from 10 to 20 volunteer hours. So anytime they can use that to their advantage, Trey, you talk about the schools that you're trying to get to. It's going to be competitive to be in there. So all these things that a guy like Trey will be involved in and put that down on paper, that's going to go towards his placement and getting him into a school like that. But my guess is you probably won't be going to UT or A&M because you're going to be playing football somewhere. Is my guess.
Well, you touched on it, and it's really neat too. You see these kids graduate, they go on, and they're representing Hutto and other places. And just in the last 2 weeks, we saw Chase and Oscar playing against each other. UCLA against Washington State. Of course, they took a little picture after the game. The 2 Hutto guys playing in the Pac-12. I saw volleyball. I saw Caddy Boyer and Alex Torres Tech against UTEP. Playing against each other, and somebody took a picture of that. 2 former Hippos, and now we got a hippo. We got a hippo in the NFL. Davion got called up to the Vikings 53 man, and I was talking to Ryan yesterday. And I was like, how cool do you think it was for Davion that he puts on a Minnesota Vikings uniform and he runs out onto Soldier Field in Chicago and is standing on the sidelines, his first NFL game. How awesome is that? And he's from Hutto, Texas.
That's right.
How cool is that? I think that's just it shows.
Well, I think we have there are 18 or 19 kids from Hutto playing collegiate sports right now. And we're talking golf and volleyball and softball and football and all the sports being represented. It's almost 20 kids right now being represented.
Carrying the Hippo Nation banner all over the country. Well, let's talk about Georgetown. Defeated Connolly, 1-0 in district play, which is where you want to be. Now you move up. Rivalry game. Obviously, this Georgetown game has become a game that everybody, whether coaches and players do, everybody in the community circles it, as the game that's you really want to beat Georgetown. Of course, we've got a little bit of a winning streak going against them. Haven't played them at home since 2016.
Correct.
Because of the realignment and all that. You played them 2 times in a row at Georgetown. Feels good to have them back at home this year, doesn't it?
No, it'll be good. It'll be a good crowd. It'll be a great atmosphere.
We know the lights will stay on in Hutto.
They will. They will. So now they're very well coached, and we know Coach Dean has moved into the athletic director role, but Coach Griffin has stepped in, and he was formerly on that staff. So they haven't changed a lot schematically. They have good kids just like us. They play hard. They fly around. They have good technique, and they're going to play hard, and they'll definitely give Hutto their best. But offensively, I think the biggest thing is just for us to line up right. I think they played, 4 different quarterbacks so far. So we'll see which one they're going to match up with us, whether you think one is a running one or one's a throwing one, how they feel they're going to match up with us. I think there were 18 different formations that we have to line up to. And then, of course, you add on the motions to that. I think the biggest thing that we've learned on a Monday is communication is huge. Just because our front 7 needs to do a really good job, and the back end 4 need to do a good job, and they both impact each other. So by the end of the day today, we lined up so much more consistently. It's so good to see our guys pick it up on day one with so many things that they'll throw at us. And that's just, a veteran defense will definitely do that. But pretty good balance of run and pass. And, of course, they've been known to run quite a few screens. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that we've always defended well, our defense has, because we feel our offense has, gotten them prepared, during practice for that. But, they always have a good kicking game. They always do. So we know that they'll be very sound in special teams. And then their defense is a 3-3 stack, and they'll show, 4 or 5 different coverages and different looks to what they want to do, and certainly their box 6 is run first, and their back end 5 is pass first. But they play with good aggression. They have got a really good Mike Backer that is a sure tackler, really good in the middle there, and good communicator. So we'll have to be on top of our game, but I think we match up well with them, and we're not going to be able to turn the ball over. We're not going to be able to do the 3-and-out game. We're going to have to squeeze really well on defense, and when it's time to get an opportune interception or make that tackle at the point of attack and make sure we play with good leverage on the defensive side, we're certainly going to need to do that. So it's going to be a heck of a ball game coming up on Friday night.
Playing last Thursday instead of Friday, were you able on Friday night to go out and watch them play Stephenville?
We did. We were able to see that, and 2 good teams, 2 good programs, and certainly got to see some things that we definitely have to worry about with Georgetown, because they do some things very, very well. Their offensive line, I think, is better than last year. I think their running back reads the hole a little bit better than last year, and of course they ran their quarterback last year, so we're prepared for that. Sure. and know that it's coming. There's times last year we didn't feel we lined up very well on the defensive side of the ball, but by the end of Tuesday's practice, we'll have that all shored up and be ready to go this year. So by the end of the week, we'll just have little wrinkles and adjustments that we'll have in. And, of course, last year they came with a 3-man front and 1 linebacker and basically said, run it at us, and take away the pass. So who knows what
if they try that
they
again.
Feel that, if they feel their defensive line is stronger than our offensive line, they may, stay the course and do that again. But, they do what they do, just like us. They're going to line up and play hard and, not come up with the, big schematic changes, and they'll be ready for us.
From a scouting perspective, what difference does it make sitting in the stands and watching a team versus watching them on film? What kinds of things can you see in person that maybe you don't pick up? I mean, speed sometimes is one of those things.
Well, the dead time in between plays, you learn a lot about kids. Like one of their offensive linemen, I could figure out who the jerk was in the group just by the other 2 around him getting mad at him and, all the jawing, and they just weren't, in unison for a couple of those. But you could also see who the emotional leader is in a positive way too. So, every now and then you'll go watch a team and you'll see a kid make a fantastic play and he only celebrates with himself, and then he goes and makes 2 more fantastic plays right after it. Well, then on the same token, flip side, you want to see, all right, when a kid does bad, what's he going to do the next play? Right. So if you ever find a kid that makes a real terrible play and about the next 10 plays, he's Tarzan, you better watch out because it's coming too. So it just, you get to see the mentality of the kids and just the cohesion, because otherwise you're seeing right before the snap of the ball till the whistle blows on your film. And, of course, not a lot of sound and different things. But then from the sideline, you can just kind of see their substitute patterns and what their coaches are doing, and, how many coaches are signaling. And if there's 4 signaling, you can figure out who it is, because the minute they turn, the 3 other ones are still signaling, and that guy over there by himself isn't. And you just, find out some things that maybe you can't see all of it on film.
It's a rivalry game. I mentioned that. What do you think it is about Georgetown or any team, but what makes certain games just bigger, more rivalry type games?
Well, anybody playing us right now, we've kind of had the hot hand and been in the playoffs, and, we're winners. Well, what's Georgetown been doing for a number of years? They've won state, and then they've been there, and they've made the long runs, and, that should be the same respect that our kids should have for them, too. So, but anytime you get, teams that are 3-1 and 4-1 or 4-0 or whatever it is, when it's two really good matched teams, it's going to be, 4 quarters, and at any given time that one play is going to be the one that breaks it open or be the winning or losing play. I just think that's awesome for fans to come and see that game and the excitement of it. And, of course, it helps that, close proximity. Since 2014, I know our biggest crowd was that 2016 game, the last time that they had come to Hutto. So we're going to expect that and more probably this time around.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if this Friday is the biggest crowd we've ever seen at Hippo Stadium. We thought that last year about Cedar Park, and then it ended up raining, and I think they knew what was coming, and they stayed home. But
I'm thinking get there by 6:30 or 6:45 if you want to see it, unless you want to walk around.
It's going to be a packed house. And I do want to mention it's also our Pink Out game.
Yes, sir.
So this is the Pink Out week, and obviously a special night when we remember and honor those folks who've dealt with that terrible thing, cancer, in their lives. So yeah, it should be a great game. Like Brad said, get out there early. Friday night game starts at 7 of course. But yeah, I encourage folks to get out there 6:30 or so. Parking. We talk about this. At some point you start running out of parking, and Nadine Johnson parking lot is an option. And we had talked a week or two ago about even possibly trying to set up a shuttle if we feel like we need to do that. So stay tuned. If that ends up being a thing that we feel like we need to do, then we'll post that on our social media.
Right.
All right, should be a great game. Looking to go to 2-0 in district play, 5-0. You're about halfway through the season. This time of year where guys can start getting banged up a little bit, and you got to really tend to some injuries, and you got to have other kids ready to step in, right, whenever those things happen.
No, we do, and that's what's great. I mean, at any time, even Trey maybe necessarily wasn't penciled in to play 60 plays on defense, and he ends up being the defensive player of the game. We have kids that are ready at any time at the drop of the hat to come on in and play a role. And, we do shuffle people out at different positions and also situations. But, that's the confidence that we have in them, that any time they're going to come on in and make the plays that they have. So play with a hot hand.
Next man up, right?
Yes, sir.
And when you're a program like we are now, which is one of the best in the state, you got guys that are just waiting their turn. Right. And sometimes somebody else's misfortune is somebody else's fortune.
That's right.
Well, opportunity.
That's we've talked about it before, that, our middle schools are running our defense and our terminology and our offense and our terminology. So to have a kid go over there and do that, it should be, no big deal. So even today when we met with JV and we showed them the Georgetown film, here's the covers that they're doing. Now this person's going to be here, but it's this coverage. Same thing as what we do. So when you can associate that at all levels, it turns out to big dividends when they get to the varsity level.
Need a big crowd, need a loud crowd. Stay early or get there early, stay late, and let's put it on Georgetown. All right, time to do our picks. Ryan and I made up a little bit of ground on Gage 2 weeks ago. Obviously, we didn't have a show last week. You're still floundering way back behind everybody.
4-0. That's how I'm out. I got to say it. My players always got my back on this.
All right. Gage is 29-17. I'm 26-20. Ryan's 25-21. You're 22-24. We'll see if we can get you over 500. All right. Here's our college picks. We do those against the spread. Remember. So all right. Gage, OU at Kansas. OU's giving 34.5 points. OU. Okay. All right, I'm doing OU as well. I'll get Ryan's picks later.
OU?
OU. I witnessed them firsthand in person this past Saturday. They're good.
As good as advertised, huh?
It was ugly if you're a Tech person, but yeah, they're fast. They're good. Oklahoma State at Tech. Oklahoma State's favored by 8.5. Huh? Tech? I wish I could say Tech, but I know what I saw this past Saturday. Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
TCU at Iowa State. Scott's not here, so we can't tell him we're repping. Iowa State's favored by 3.5. TCU had a big comeback win over Kansas. Iowa State. Okay. I'm also going Iowa State.
I guess I go with the Frogs
Going
on this
Frogs?
one. I got to try to make up one or two here or there.
Well, I think we're finding out that their loss to SMU wasn't that embarrassing. SMU's good.
They are.
Ranked for the first time since the whole Pony Express death penalty days.
Crazy.
Got ranked this week. UT at West Virginia. UT's favored by 10.5. UT. Yeah, I got to go.
Hook 'em.
Yeah, I can't say that, but Baylor at Kansas State. Kansas State favored by 3.5. Baylor. I'm going KSU.
KSU for me, too.
I think Baylor's going to have a letdown. They got that
Old NDSU
last
staff.
second win. Okay, a couple of other non-Big 12 games. Auburn at Florida. Auburn favored by 3. Florida. I'm going Auburn.
Auburn.
Okay. And then Michigan State at Ohio State. Ohio State looks good. They're favored by 20.5. Ohio State.
20.5. Gosh, that's a lot.
It is a lot. But it's at Ohio. I'm going Ohio State.
Guess I got to join that bandwagon.
You're never going to make up any games if you choose the same as we do.
You're right.
You going to Ohio State?
I guess.
All right, here's our high school games. Obviously, we only picked 2 district games now that we're in district because we don't pick the Hutto game because we all would pick the same. Rouse at Pflugerville. Okay. I'm going Pflugerville as well.
Same here.
I think I probably don't even have to ask this one. Connolly at Cedar Park.
CP.
I just already wrote it down. A couple of non-district. Brenham at Eastview. Eastview is on a roll.
It's at Eastview?
It's at Eastview.
Gosh, I haven't seen what Brenham's done. Go Eastview.
I'm going Eastview as well. Round Rock at Vandergrift. Round Rock's undefeated. So's Vandergrift. Going Vandergrift? I'm going Round Rock.
Carson, who are we going with there? You looking up scores for me? Who are we going with? He can't be a play caller. Delay a game. Round Rock.
Round Rock. All right. And here's our 6-man game. We had a request to start doing 6-man games again like we did last year. It's the White Deer Bucks at the Milford Bulldogs. White Deer. I'll go White Deer as well.
Better give me a chance to make up a game there.
You'll go
Bulldogs.
Milford? Going Bulldogs. You ever watch the 6-man game?
No.
Have you not?
I no. Actually, we had a kid in Nebraska. We thought we were going to get a kid out of Nebraska back in 2000 or 2001 at our junior. That kid did everything. We thought we had a chance at him. Then he got the University of Nebraska scholarship offer. But it was 87 to 85.
It's basketball on a football field, basically.
Sir.
It's fun to watch.
I haven't seen it live. I'd like to see it live.
Yeah, there's some good athletes there.
Right.
I quit putting Minnesota on our picks because you gave me a hard time. You know, the Gophers are undefeated.
They may be 8-0 as light as their schedule and easy as it is. But their quarterback was 95% over the weekend.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah. All right, that's Coach's Show Friday night. Be there, Georgetown, big game. Hippos want to go to 2-0 in district play.
Yes,
that's a huge win. You're talking about 2 teams, 2 of the 3 teams that folks had penciled as top 3 teams in the district this year. So it's a big game for them. It's a big game for us. We need to get that win, and we need to come out healthy and move forward. So, all right, for Coach Brad LaPlante, I'm Todd Robinson. We appreciate Kangaroo and Hippo Cafe and Koala Cooling sponsoring the Coach's Show each week. And congratulations to our players of the week. And we will be on air Friday night at about 6:50, just before the Georgetown Hippo game. Thanks a lot. Have a great week.